welcome to Starving Artist Courses, your all-in-one online music education resource. I'm Jeremy, the electric guitar teacher. This is your first guitar lesson. Let's get pumped because it's going to be fun. I'm going to kind of go into where I started as a guitar player. I had a friend, he was Japanese. He had a cousin come in from Japan. He didn't speak any English. But he was this, he played guitar and he drew, and he was just like so cool because he was older than us. So we were just both drawn to him, and we just kind of like watch him play all this time. Neither of us play guitar, but by watching him, my friend picked up doing guitar lessons. And from there, I had to compete with him. So I also got a guitar, but I couldn't do guitar lessons. So it was always just like him teaching me how to do stuff. And then eventually got to the point where I just couldn't put the guitar down, and I just kept going after that. Hopefully this is where your passion starts, or with these videos. So let's get started. All right, your first lesson, let's get started. We're gonna look at all of the parts of the guitar. We're gonna try to analyze and figure out what all these little knobs do, and this little dangling rod and these knobs and all this. We're going to make sense of it all. Let's start at the top. The top, we have the headstock of the guitar. We have on each of these, or we call these the tuning pegs. The tuning pegs, if you go counterclockwise, you're going to raise it. If you go clockwise, you're going to lower the string. So you can hear the pitch change depending on which way you change it. We also just want to make sure when we're tuning it to the right letter. And then when you're good, there you go. And then we have a little string tree here. The string tree are where we use for keeping the strings in line. Kind of helps cut some of the ringing sound you get from the strings up here. The nut is where the strings stop vibrating. So nothing you press up there is going to make any difference. When you go above it, that's where you start to get the changes in the string sound. On the neck here, we have the fretboard and we have the frets. So the frets are the most important part of the guitar. Each time you change what string you're playing, and by putting your fingers on different strings and frets here, you get different sounds. Play chords like this, or you can play individual notes, or two strings at a time. Makes the guitar kind of like a piano, if you think about it. One of the only instruments that can kind of play chords and single notes at the same time. We also have these little dots. The dots are the fret markers. These are kind of guideposts of thinking of like where you're at when you're playing all over the neck. So when you're doing your crazy Eddie Van Halen solos, you kind of know where to put your fingers because of these dots. They're very, very helpful later on. So when the neck meets the body right here, we have all the other stuff on the guitar is where kind of the meat and potatoes of the guitar is on the body. We have all these knobs. The knobs are basically, we have a volume knob, we have our tone knob, and then this one's kind of specific to this guitar. This is a bass contour knob. Not as important. These two, we have our volume. If we turn it all the way down, you get no sound. Turn it all the way up, get all the sound. So, no sound. Lots of sound. Tone knob, you kind of get, basically affects the way the guitar sounds when it's coming through the amp. If you have it all the way up, you get generally a full, bright kind of sound to the guitar. If you turn it all the way down, you get a more mellower, kind of warmer kind of sound to it. You can go anywhere in between there as well. You kind of use this depending on the kind of music you're playing or the kind of tone you want for your electric guitar. It's part of what makes the electric guitar very versatile is that you can alter the sound based off of just even these knobs combined with the pickups, combined with your amp. You're limitless as far as what kind of sounds you can make from the guitar. And these are the pickups. The pickups are metal magnets, and then they interact with the string. So when you pluck the string, the sound from the string sends a signal to the magnets, and that signal goes to your amp, and then you get your sound from the basically from the magnets. So magnets and the pickup style, those can be very different depending on what kind of guitar you have, what kind of pickup you have. These are humbuckers. You might have a single coil pickup where it's just one row of the magnets instead of two. You might have P90s. There's all different kinds of pickups. So you just kind of, we'll get more in depth with this later on, but for now you just want to know they all kind of sound different. They all kind of do different things, different more normal in different kinds of genres of music. You might also see like these kind of are a hybrid, so you might see versions that kind of mix them together. So very, very broad topic are guitar pickups. You have your pickup switch. Pickup switch, when it's all the way down, you're going to use your bridge pickup. When it's in the middle, you're going to use both pickups. And when it's in the neck, you're going to use the neck pickup. So depending on which pickup you're on, it'll sound a little different. So basically, you just kind of want to know, it's all just changes the sound. Not really that important for playing, just, you know, it's what the guitar is designed to do, is just give you lots of different sounds when you're playing. Down here we have the bridge. The bridge is important because that's where when we're changing strings, they anchor in down here. So when you thread it through and you put it on the tuning peg here, this is where it's kind of, you have a lot of different options here with your intonating with the screws back here, your action, raising the string height. Mine has the little tremolo arm here. So when you're playing, you can get even more kind of crazy sounds. Now, not all guitars have these. You might have a hardtail bridge where there's just, it kind of looks similar to this one but without the tremolo arm. You might have a Tune-O-Matic bridge which has the bar, which is normal on some other guitars. Bigsby's, there's all kinds. There's an endless amount, a lot of new ones as well. So you just kind of want to know that this is the bridge and that there's a bunch of different kinds of them. You have your input jack right here. This is where the cable goes in and out. And that's it. All right, let's do some of the basics with tuning the guitar. And let's also kind of go over just some of the simple things we need to know. Like the pick. The pick, we kind of want to think of it like, I like to think of it like an axe, where you have the pick here and then you have your thumb. Think of you want to have like a right angle or like the axe head, and then your thumb is the handle of the axe. And then if you hold it like this and you kind of bring your index finger around, you want to kind of avoid holding, like pinching it. You lose a little bit of dexterity. You lose a little bit of control the more you have like your fingertips on top of it. If you hold it just like this, eventually you'll have as much control as you'll ever need, especially when you switch between strumming and playing individual notes. You won't have to worry about it as much. Strings. We have 6 strings on the guitar. We have E, A, D, G, B, E. We call that standard tuning because most music on guitar is written in that way. There's ways to change the tuning and you'll see all different kinds, but for now, standard tuning, E, A, D, G, B, E. This is the saying I learned when I was a kid. Let's hope this will stick in your brain as much as it stuck in mine. Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. E, A, D, G, B, E. So when we tune the guitar, like I was saying earlier, when you go counterclockwise, you're going to raise it, and when you go clockwise, you're going to lower it. So it's really important to know that, because you're going to be looking at your tuning and you'll be like, what am I doing to the string when I'm twisting these knobs? So right now my guitar is saying E, because we want to tune this string, the E string, to E, and it's a little flat, so I'm going to go counterclockwise to raise it up until it's right where I want it. Usually you have a chromatic tuner, you have some kind of needle that's going to go, you know, one direction when if it's flat, and then the other direction when it's sharp. So what you want to do is try to get that line right in the middle, because they're all designed that way so that when you're tuning, you know when you're in tune. And then basically you're just going to do that through all the strings. You don't need to twist it a lot, because if you twist it too much in one direction, it's going to alter it a huge amount. So little goes a long way when it comes to tuning your guitar, especially once it's in tune. The only time, like weather, when it changes, if you live in a climate where it's hot and cold, your guitar will probably need to be tuned more frequently than where it's like stays one kind of climate the whole year round. So right now this is a little flat, so I'm going to go counterclockwise till it's right in the middle. A little flat, so counterclockwise till it's in the middle. Same thing here. Same thing here. Then sometimes you might have one that's like crazy out of tune. Like right now mine's saying like F. So what you want to think in your head is the way music works is kind of like an alphabet. So if it's F and we know this is the E string, what we want to do is we want to go lower. So we're going below F, so we got to lower it until we get back to E. And then once it's in the middle, you're good. So just think about if you're playing a string, you're like, this is the E string, and you tuned it all, like it's just all out of whack, which will happen. You just got to think alphabet. So this is E. If it was saying D, you'd want to raise it up so that you get it to E. Let's get to actually playing some music on the guitar. We're going to start with our first exercise, which is the chromatic scale. This is kind of where everyone starts when they're learning how to play music on the guitar. So we got our left hand. On our left hand, we usually number our fingers. We don't usually, the thumb is just the thumb. Sometimes you'll see T for thumb on music. We have our index finger, which is 1, middle finger is 2, ring finger is 3, pinky is 4. So we got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when we hold the guitar, we want to think of a few things with our left hand. So what we want to try to do is we want to not grip it like a baseball bat. A lot of people like to play guitar like this. I think if you have your thumb too high up, you lose a lot of dexterity and reach with your thumb up there. If you keep your thumb more in the back middle of the guitar, kind of like right around here. Usually you want to think about it like with your index finger. So if you have both of these kind of in line with each other, it's a good starting spot, especially where the exercise we're going to work on. And what you want to try to do too is have a little bit of a gap with your palm and the neck board. You don't want to have your palm touching it. You want to have this little gap here. This is where the sweet spot, I think, because if you can see how my hand, I have a lot more reach with my fingers when I stretch them versus this, where I can't stretch my fingers out as much. So if you play like this, you kind of lose a little bit of your reach. If you play like this, you get a lot more stretch with your fingers. So what we're going to do now is we're going to play a simple chromatic scale where we're going to use each of the strings, and we're going to play each finger is going to match the frets. So we're going to have our open string, our E string, and we're going to play with our first finger on the first fret, then our second finger on the second fret, third finger, third fret, fourth finger, fourth fret. So really easy to memorize and really easy to play. With our right hand, we're going to alternate. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down, up, down, up, down. And then we go to the next string and we do the same thing. Down, up, down, up, down. And this all the way through until we get through all 6 strings. Then we go backwards, same thing. So the most important things to work on with this exercise is trying to have no gap of sound between each notes. It's really hard to do at first, and it might be really hard to push down as well on the guitar. But that's what you really want to work on, is making it sound as good as you possibly can, even though you're just playing these notes in order. And you see my fingers, I'm not going I want to stay closer to the fret. The string's easier to push down when you're closer to the fret. If you're far away from the fret, you might get more buzzing, and it's a little bit harder to push down. If you're right above the fret, it's kind of the sweet spot. It'll always sound good if you put your fingers right there. Let's wrap it up. So your homework assignment, very easy this week. We're just going to work on that chromatic scale that we kind of just went over. All you got to do is be patient with yourself. Just really work on making sure the positioning of your hand and holding the strings down in between each notes. And then just making sure you're using the right fingers on the right frets. So it's easy to not want to use the pinky, because the pinky will just kind of, it's that weak finger. It's the wild child of the hand. It does not want to work with the other fingers as well as like your index and your middle finger. But patience is a virtue. You will get there. Just be very, very patient. Don't worry too much about it. It's not going to sound beautiful right now. The more you practice, though, the more beautiful it'll sound. So that's the key, is practicing every day. You want to practice like 10 to 15 minutes when you're starting out. It's kind of hard, but you can do it. You just got to think of it like you got 10 or 15 minutes instead of watching TV or watching a video online or scrolling on Facebook or Instagram. just play your instrument. It's very, very easy. You'll learn to love it. Trust me, everyone that's on our website loves playing music, and you will get there too. And when you practice, you want to use a metronome. So a metronome you can get on your phone. You can go to either on Android or iPhone, just type in metronome. You'll find a whole bunch that'll be for free. You don't need to pay for one. You can go to a music store. You can buy a little one. They're pretty inexpensive, but versatile, and probably one of the most useful musician tools there are is the metronome. It'll keep you in time. What you want to try to do is set yours for 60, quarter note equals 60, so it'd be like something close to that. Very easy to play to. You want to try to match your notes with those clicks. That's what you really want to use the metronome for, is to keep you in time, because music's all about staying in time. If you're playing with other people, you will throw them off immensely if you're playing too fast or too slow, and music's all about that kind of community playing. When you're in a group, is you're all locked in the pocket. When you hear musicians say that, it's because everyone's playing to that same beat. So the metronome will help keep you locked in with playing in time, which is super important with music. If you find you're having a hard time with practice, we have a PDF to download. It's called Finding Your Rhythm, Making Time for Your Dreams. It'll be a step-by-step guide of just like keep making things simple. Think of it like when you're doing like an exercise program and they have like a diet plan or something like that. Same idea. It'll make it very easy to get yourself straight with practicing on a daily routine, because you really want to do that when you're playing music. It's the only way you'll get better is by practicing daily, having, kind of a guideline, which is what we'll do in our videos, is kind of show you each step that it'll take to getting to that next level, that higher level, which is, the goal for every musician is just to keep getting better. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ding the bell. We're going to have videos for you every week. It's going to be awesome. You're going to have a ton to work on. You're going to have too much to work on, but it's going to be great, because that's what it's all about. Have fun when you're playing. Don't forget to have fun. That's super important with music, is to love it all the time. And we'll see you next time.